This video is going to briefly go over Nearpod. Down in my systems tray, the four icons that are down there, the second one in is Nearpod. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on Nearpod. And when I initially click on Nearpod, it might ask me to sign in. Great, I'm already signed in, but sometimes it might ask you to sign in, and you can go ahead and you can sign in with Google, which is a great feature. So I'm going to go back here and hit the home button because this is most likely where you're going to start off. There are 5 different options here for you as the instructor and a couple for the students as well. So the first option that you have there is you have My Library, and this is where you're going to be able to accumulate all the things that you have in Nearpod. So if I click on My Library, it's going to be a little bit overwhelming to you. So these are all my different presentations that I've either found, bought, or downloaded for free. So they are all there for you. So that's My Library, and we'll get over that in a second. The next option is Explore. So this is kind of going into the store and saying this is what I'm looking for, and I'm going to try and find it. And they kind of do it Amazon-like in that they have the scrolling bar at the top with different things that you can search for something that they're highlighting. They also have a top lessons featured, top ones that are free, top paid, new, team picks. So they are all there for you. Now, if you ever purchase anything from Nearpod, it will actually delete it right from your iTunes account card. So that's a really nice feature to have as well. So you can go ahead and you can explore. This is the one that the students would do. They're going to join a lesson, and I will show you what that looks like in a minute. You could also create on the iPad. I truly suggest and see that it's going to direct you out to a web browser. Creating in Nearpod is a lot easier on a desktop or a laptop. So you can do it on the iPad, it is doable, but it's a lot easier on the desktop. So just know that. And then the last thing that you can click on is reports. And reports are after you've run a Nearpod with a class, you can kind of see the results, see what it was demonstrated by the students. So I'm going to go ahead back into My Library for a minute. And what I have here is all my different presentations. And let's say that I'm going to be explaining to a group about finding area. So you can see on the second row here where it says finding area, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this one. And what it's going to do, it's going to enable me to kind of see what it looks like. And I can swipe through and see what this all has involved in it. There's a poll there. Now they're going to try. So here's the lesson part, and then here's them trying, and there's them trying again, and so on and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save these changes, and it's going to take me out to Nearpod because it wasn't saved. I must have been editing this one. So I'm going to save this here. It's going to ask me to open it in Nearpod. Now my finding area is all the way up top here. And what I can do is I have a live session. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click a live session. And what's going to happen is it's going to give me those 5 letters, G, R, L, K, T. And what this does is the students can get on Nearpod. And they can get on Nearpod on their laptop, on any device that has a web browser, on a Chromebook, on an iPad obviously. And they're going to just simply enter that 5-digit code. Remember back in the beginning it said join? That's where I'm going to join with that 5-digit code. I can also embed this right into Google Classroom if I wanted to. I could link it, I could put it socially. And then what I could do is I can start to run my Nearpod. So now I'm running a Nearpod and I have students in there that are participating in my class. Let me go over some things in the top for you. Top right-hand corner is me. So that would be a picture of me if I actually did that. Next to me, you see 3 students, blue and then 2 gray. If I had 20 students in my classroom, I could see that all 20 of them were in my classroom. And I could click on them and I could see that all their names were on there. The great part about this is that you can see when students are active and when students are not active, or when they're not in the app anymore. They'll go red if they're not active, and I believe they're green or blue when they are active and they are working. So that is a great feature to kind of monitor students with what's going on there. I like to show the students' names. I don't want to hide them. So that's some of the basics up top there. I always leave the pin because if students do accidentally get out, and sometimes they accidentally do it, and sometimes they do it on purpose, it's always there and they can rejoin as well. So I have two ways that I can activate and show what's coming up next on the student's screen. I'm controlling what the students see at this point. And what I can do here is I can simply scroll from left to right and just pull over. And now as I change this on my screen, on my iPad, it's actually going to change on theirs as well. So they need to be paying attention at all times. So I can do it that way if I wanted to. All the way in the bottom, though, you see an arrow that kind of points up. When I click on that arrow, I can see what comes up next and what's coming up. So this next one, students will find the area by counting the square units inside the rectangle. I don't need to show the students that one, so I'm going to skip that one, and I'm going to go right to the poll. If I can click and hold down on the poll, and it says drop here to share, I can go ahead and I can share that now. Okay, and what's going to happen is the area of a rectangle like a fence or a carpet? The students will be able to pick one or the other. So once I see students answering and I see that all the students are finished, it'll show me, it'll tell me in percentage-wise how much time or how many students have actually answered. I like to share this out, and I can share the poll, and this would be a kind of a circle poll that would be there. When I see all students are done, I could talk about the results, talk a little bit about the difference between the fence and a carpet, and why it would be a what? A carpet? Yep, not a fence. Fence would be perimeter. So I could talk about why it's a carpet and give demonstrations and examples. So now I'm going to go to the next one. If I know what's next, I can just simply scroll and move on to the next one. So students would go ahead and read that. I might demonstrate a little bit about counting the squares and whatnot. And now it's going to be time for the students to actually find the area of the different types of questions. And so you're going to see students' responses come in as they come in live. So it's really, really neat and really powerful. If you see a student is not answering or struggling, you can walk over to that student and kind of monitor and help them along and see what's going on. And you can go through the rest of the Nearpod and you can see that this one is a drawing feature. So maybe I want to do this one next. Find the area, so they're asking for the base, they're asking for the height, and then they're multiplying those two together so that would be there. And I can continue going through the different things. I have a website that I can add. So now instead of it going out to, it would actually go out to Safari. In this particular case, this was a show me, which is kind of a screencasting. So that was deleted by accident, so I could actually delete that out of my presentation. I love this slide. I always put that in when I have students, when a video is going to be coming up, because then that way they know that there's going to be a video that's going to be coming. Here's another option that you have. This is kind of a slideshow. So there's one slideshow, and the students can go through and they can scroll through the 4 of these one at a time. So they have to answer 4 questions there for the area of those 4 different types of shapes. Maybe they're going to do that on a piece of paper. Okay, so next is my assessment. And you can go through, and that would be how you ran the Nearpod. When I'm finished, where it says Nearpod in the top in the center, I can exit. Also, for the gold edition, which is what I have, that's the paid version, you can add a draw it, you can add a slide, or you can add a true false on the fly. That would be really cool and really powerful, because maybe you see that students are struggling with area and maybe you need to give another demonstration maybe of what perimeter is first, because in my understanding is that you have to understand perimeter before you understand area. So maybe you have to review area or review perimeter first, and you draw a fence and you say, okay, this is what the fence, the length is and what the width is, what's the perimeter of that. So those are kind of on the fly type things, but when you're finished you can hit exit. Would you like to end the presentation? Yep, I want to end it. So now it goes back to my library, and when I click on that there, I can then jump all the way down to reports, and this is going to take me out to the web browser, and it's going to give me all of my reports, and it should give me a report for this one that I just ran here today. Maybe it didn't because there was no information. Okay, so let me show you some of the ones that it did show me. Exploring the oceans. 13 students did it, so I can go ahead and I can click on it, and it's going to break down and give me all the examples and all the information from that. So here are my students' names, and I did this for professional development. Student participation, 81% participated, 19% skipped it. My quiz, my poll that I expected there. So when I click on this poll, this is what my responses were, and that's who responded yes and no. My open-ended, and then I have a draw it. So they actually drew something. I told them just to draw a fish just because it would be a lot easier. So I could share that if I wanted to. Great resources or great information maybe for an IST. I'm going to go back to Nearpod. So those are my reports that were there. My Explore, again, takes me to the store. And if I show you the store, I'm going to go down to the top free, just because free is good for teachers. So Tucker tape diagrams, this is for 6th to 8th grade. I don't want that. Being a former 5th grade teacher. Let me go back to Explore a little bit. Maybe I want to do adding and subtracting fractions, because that's something that my students struggle with a little bit. I can swipe and see what it looks like before I download it. Open-ended question. Think, pair, share, draw it. So maybe if I wanted this one, I could go ahead and I could hit free. Maybe I wanted to share this with my team. So I could go ahead and I could hit that email and I could share it with my team if I wanted to. Nearpod is very, very powerful and very exciting. The other option that I have, let me go back to my library, and this is a paid version option, and I'll give you a link to a pretty good deal on a paid option. But maybe I want to use this as homework. I want students to do it on their own, so I click the student paste. And this is kind of what we refer to as homework. I can put that in my Google Classroom if I wanted to. I can embed it. I could do all those different types of options. And then the students would work on their own pace. Maybe you want to use that as a center. So that's there. So student paste is one of those options for paid as well. So there you have it. That's Nearpod on the iPad and how to run it.